The hour of 5 o'clock having arrived, I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of directors for the Vallecitos Water District. And let's please stand for the pledge. Director Martin, would you mind leading us?
Certainly. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Roll call, Diane.
Director Alethar?
Here.
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Martin?
Present.
Director Spinella?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very nice. Presentations today.
All right, I'll jump in here. So we have three presentations being given today to recognize staff members. The board may remember that about several meetings ago we talked about the water quality lab here in our district facilities being certified. Well, we also want to talk about our lab down at Meadowlark being certified, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So the Meadowlark lab was originally certified back in the 90s, and it performed all of our water testing, not just the wastewater side, but also the drinking water side. So at that time, it did both. And in 1998, the district made the decision to centralize all of their testing at the Encina Wastewater Authority. So at that point in time, we let the certification for the Meadowlark lab lapse. But during the 2005 plant upgrades, the decision was made to bring the laboratory back up to the status where it could provide all the space for the in-house processing testing and also the regulatory testing that's required for the wastewater treatment plant. And back in 2015, the lab was recertified to perform some of the required compliance analysis, and that has provided the district with an annual savings of about $15,000 per year. So that's good. But Meadowlark staff is currently working on adding more analyses to the certification that will bring our annual cost savings up to about $40,000 per year. So we're trying to make it better every year, which is great. So Dawn McDougall's with us tonight, and Dawn is she's the wastewater treatment plant supervisor, and she's in charge of the lab, and she'll be accepting the presentation of the certificates today. There's actually two of them. She began her career here at Vallecitos as a source control technician, and then she became a laboratory coordinator down at the Meadowlark lab, and she's maintained her grade 4 laboratory analyst cert with the California Water Environment Association throughout all those years. And this has allowed the district to move forward with all of our recertification for the lab. And that makes her the official laboratory director for the district's wastewater lab. That's a pretty impressive title there. So Dawn, if I can ask you to please come forward and join President Hernandez in front of the dais here to receive the certificates for the environmental accreditation and the certificate of excellence for achieving 100% acceptable data.
Thank you so very much for all your hard work. You're doing just a magnificent job. I'll hold one for you. Thank you very much.
It takes all of us to do this, and I get a lot of support from the staff. So.
You do. I know you do.
Thank you.
So one of the things we like most about our employees here is their willingness to advance their career, get more certifications and more training, and their willingness to take on extra assignments and to prepare themselves for career advancement, because it really helps the district become better. So tonight we're going to be recognizing two such employees. So the first is Richie Arbayo, and Richie's back there. Yep, he's right there. He wore an appropriate clothing tonight.
Doctor.
Richie is our senior water systems operations operator. He's been with the district for over 14 years, and he's essential to making sure we meet all of our water supply obligations, including making sure our water is of the highest quality. And recently, Richie received his Water Quality Laboratory Analyst Grade 1 certificate from the American Water Association, California-Nevada section. And the board may remember that our water quality lab here at the administrative facility was recently certified, as I mentioned before. So Richie will have an excellent facility in which to practice his skills. So Richie, congratulations, and thank you for your hard work.
I'm a little concerned that it says Nevada. You're not planning to go anywhere, are you? Oh, good. California. Yeah, that's it. I see it says California. Congratulations. Congratulations.
So our last person to be recognized, I realize he just snuck in right there. Richie was wrapping up. So Chris Deering. Chris is our a wastewater treatment plant operator 2, and he works down at the Meadowlark Reclamation Facility. He's been with the district a little over 4 years, and he too has shown the initiative to advance his level of professional achievement. He recently received his grade 4 wastewater treatment plant operator certificate from the State Water Resources Control Board, and it's a great achievement for Chris, and I'd like to congratulate him and thank him. And Chris, please come forward, and Director Hernandez will present it to you.
Yes. So you only got one more to go, huh? Yeah. Well, good for you. Yeah, I know you are, so good luck to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Could I just ask a couple questions?
Oh, by all means.
Before you leave, I just was wondering, we see these certificates come forward, and as a board, though, we're not really aware of what amount of time and energy went into this, and I know how hard it is with all of your lives and what's happening in them. I just wonder if you could just, whether it's Ed or Dawn or each one, if they just want to give a real quick what was involved in obtaining this level, because I'd really like to understand and appreciate what you've done.
If we put them on the spot, none of them are going to want to come here and receive certificates again.
No, but maybe Ed would love it, because he's been wanting to get up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wherever you want, Ed.
I have no idea, Ed. We're
Not the middle.
really.
This is staff here. I've got to sit this here.
Just be happy you don't have the lights on you.
Yeah.
The real quick answer is years.
Years.
So it's not only years of experience, but years of education for the advancement. Wastewater treatment plant operator, extremely difficult tests. You have to be certified for so long at each level before you can advance. Same with the water side. I can probably speak clearly and say that I think the wastewater treatment plant certification is probably harder than the water side. I've been through the water side and I've seen their tests. So much more difficult, I think, certification. The lab test, I know that Richie just got, that's another one that's really tough, very technical. But it does, these certifications that they're going out and getting, there's no guarantee that it's going to allow them to advance here at the district. They're not getting any extra money. So they're doing it on their own to, become a better employee and provide them with that opportunities should it arise down the road. And that's one of the things we all preach, especially in operations, is that you need to prepare for the future now. If you wait till that opportunity's there and you're not ready, you just missed it.
So does this prepare Richie to replace you?
He can do that now.
It's a sharp dresser.
He's a monkey in a chair. So.
And then, so does this include like night school and weekend classes?
Yeah,
and
most of the time it's almost always night school.
night school.
Yeah, and years of it.
I think just because we've had so many recently, and I'm really proud of our district, and I do know when we go to conferences, we hear other districts that are just starting to really promote the idea of educating their staff. But I just wondered, because it would be really hard. It's hard to fit that in. I know you have a new baby. I was hoping you were bringing her, so that's why you were late. But anyway. Really appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you once again.
Good job, guys.
All right, public comment. I do have one speaker, Mr. Huntsinger, for oral comment.
I believe there's a handout that's been distributed already.
Mike Hunsaker, 115 Equestrian Court. One of the major sources of water in case of a drought is our snowpack, which just about disappeared in 2014, 2015. You can see a snowpack from the federal view in the first page, and you can also see that, quote, they're no longer giving these reports because of staffing constraints. But it doesn't look too good. If you look at the second page, and you find that our snowpack has disappeared in the north, the central, and the south. And we were depending on that as a water reserve to help offset any drought. Well, it's gone, and the drought continues, and it is still bad. From what I understand, we just went through the second worst, driest rainy season on record. Now, the thing that most people are watching is Lake Mead, which is the third page you have. And at level 1075, the first water restrictions are called by the federal government, and the Bureau of Reclamation then takes over the distribution of water. And as you can see from the yellow, we've been at or below that level a number of times. Well, the standard is the elevation as of December 31st, a calendar year, which happens to be in the middle of the rainy season. And it allows, if there's going to be get within 1075, a chance to take some months to fill it up from reservoirs to keep Lake Mead artificially high. And right now, a good deal of the water that keeps us above that, which does keep us above that, are Mexican water, which they can withdraw at any point in time. You'll also notice that even after the very wet season, we've dropped dramatically in the height of the elevation of Lake Mead water. Where is the water coming from? Well, we're getting, the MWD is giving us more water. Well, where are they getting the water? The first page, the next page, shows the Lower Colorado Water Supply Report. And last year, MWD was supplying us 488,000 acre feet, 1,000 acre feet of water. And now, next year...
Sorry.
Okay, we'll continue this next time.
Very good. Thank you very much.
But we do not have the water.
Thank you. Item next is the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to approve this consent calendar.
Second.
All right, and before we vote on that, I do have a speaker on item number 1.3, and that would be Mr. Hunsaker.
One of the major concerns that I've had is the lack of action to minimize leaks in multifamily buildings. According to a water symposium that was held here in San Marcos at the university, leaks in single-family homes has dropped dramatically, whereas it was about 12% before the drought. It's now 1 to 3%. But apartment buildings are still high, still 12%. Why? Because they are on master meters, and you cannot really find where leaks are easily with master meters. That isn't always the case. But landlords being what they are, they like to cut corners, and fixing leaks has been a historical bad one. Now, one of the ways to take care of this is to put individual meters in every apartment. This does two things. It allows you to minimize the waste, which is considerable, but it also makes sure that facilities that costs are completely and fairly paid. There's only 2 1.5-inch meters that is used to supply 50 dwellings here. If you compute the EDUs, that's about 40 EDUs, and it should have about 5 2-inch meters. So what's the discrepancy? Well, they're supposed to buy capacity by buying meters. But in this case, they bought smaller meters, and then they paid cash up to make up supposedly the difference. But if this was a single-family dwelling, we are talking about $450,000 or so, rather than $124,000. You also often record demand in terms of EDUs. So we're missing and dropping EDUs here. This is going to be very carefully watched when you get them up with your new 2014 Master Water Plan. And I say 2014 because that's the years in which you are basing your calculations and which you are basing your urban water master plan. There are serious faults in here. And the other problem is if you have too few meters, you immediately go up into upper tier costs. These are seniors. This is a way to waste water. It's an unfair way to compute capacity fees. And it affects seniors very badly. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, yeah, there was a.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Very good. All right. Move on to the action item 2.1, the Chamber of Commerce membership.
Yeah, so the board may remember back on September 5th of this year, the CEO, Rick Rangaitis from the Chamber, came forward asking if the board was interested in becoming a member of the Chamber, and the board did direct me to add it to the agenda, so that's what's in front of you today. Mr. Rangaitis did submit a letter with his request. It's dated September 19th, and it is included in the board package. He lays out the reasons that he'd like the district to consider becoming a member of the Chamber, and he actually extends an offer to reduce the dues from what it would normally be calculated at $950 down to $712.50, which equates to about a 25% discount. They usually tie the membership due based on the number of employees that an organization has. So I think as in an effort to try to get the district to become a member again, he's offered this discount. So we're looking for board direction as to whether the district wants to become a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and if so, does that get added to the list of organizations for which directors would receive compensation for attending events?
Yes, Director Martin.
Yeah, during Rick's proposal a couple of weeks ago, I kept very silent because for a short time, for about a year, I was actually employed by the Chamber. And actually, I think it was I that brought up rejoining the Chamber after we had dropped him the time before that, because I thought that we could get some real benefit out of belonging to the Chamber. So we joined the Chamber. We actually had a sundowner here, which Diane did a wonderful job of orchestrating, and people still talk about the wonderful sundowners they used to have at Vallecitos. I can't, in any good conscience, number one, he's showing a 25% discount, which is still $700. Number one. Number two, the other governmental body in town, the city of San Marcos, is not a member, nor has been for many, many years, because they believe, as I do, that if people want to join the Chamber, they should, but not paying taxpayers' dollars, in our case, ratepayers' dollars to do that. I thought we were going to get more of a benefit out of it than we did for that 1 year. And even though I was employed there, I didn't feel that the numbers they gave us were accurate, nor did I feel we got our money's worth out of it, even after substantially paying more than just the dues by having a sundowner. which I don't know what that cost exactly, but it was more than the dues was. So I won't be backing that we join the chamber again. I don't see the need, and their numbers are not accurate. I can tell you from rereading it and from being there 3 years ago, the numbers are not accurate. And when we tried to use their newsletter 3 years ago, we were told there's a fee, and it wasn't cheap for us to use the email list. They wouldn't give you the list, and from first-hand knowledge, I know the list is not accurate. So because of that, I just don't see why our ratepayers should pay for us to join the Chamber of Commerce, my opinion.
Director Sinella.
A different view. So I was actually the one who encouraged Rick to come and present to the board, and I was hoping that he would have spent a little bit more time on some of the changes that have taken place over the last year or so at the chamber. Maybe he felt like he was under some time constraints and didn't have the opportunity to really go into that. But I have noticed some positive changes. I do attend a number of their events. I do see them as they're valuable in the sense that it puts us as district representatives in front of the business community here locally, and especially some of the businesses that we use, that we have here in San Marcos that use a tremendous amount of water, such as breweries and others. So I do think that there's some value in that. But to be consistent with what I've kind of advocated for, 4 years since I've been on the board, is that I've always wanted our agency to be a leader in the community. And I don't view that the fact that the city's not involved with the chamber or the school district's not involved with the chamber as a good thing. I think that's an unfortunate thing, and I think that shows a lack of leadership. And we've always led, be it San Diego, North EDC, the Boys and Girls Club. We are the premier agency in San Marcos, in my opinion, by a number of different measures. And we should continue to be consistent and continue to be a leader in our community and be there face-to-face with our businesses and support them. So for that, I advocate that we support this.
Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, in theory, I support being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Although I sympathize with Director Martin's comments on the experience we've had in the past, but it seems to be a reasonable cost to me, and I think it's worth giving it a try.
And I'm in the same thought pattern in that. I think that the chamber is definitely a part of our community, and our decision to join now, of course, it's going to be based on some historical, but it is a different chamber. I've seen some progress in it, and I appreciate that Mike's been and contributed that. So I'm more than happy to contribute the $712.50 to be a member. I have one small caveat, and this is my own personal belief. I do not believe, as personal servants, public servants, that we should expect our ratepayers to pay us per diem to go to chamber meetings. And by opening this up that all chamber events, we don't need to be paid to go to every sundowner. I know we've gone back and forth on the issue of the night of elected officials. Sometimes we paid and sometimes we didn't. We've been at the State of the City address. I understand why that in particular can be important, but I would not want this to become an open payment. If we feel that we're going to have to go and we're going to have to pay someone to be there, I think it loses my respect, and certainly the ratepayers, to have to pay us to be who we are. We're supposed to represent the Vallecitos Water District. And so that would be my caveat. And the only thing I might consider in that is also if we do join, and we felt it's critical we there, that we actually assign a delegate, and that delegate is allowed to go as paid. The rest go because you want to or you should. That's kind of my thinking here, and I'm just off the top of my head. But I do think we should be a member of the chamber.
I was going to ask the manager, do we have this in our budget under?
Our budget can easily accommodate this.
All right, very good.
The
I would pretty much agree with.
Can I just chime in, because I should have said this earlier. I am in full agreement with Director Evans. I think we should support the chamber and we should become members, but I do think that first off, we should not be on the automatic list or whatever it's called. But secondly, any of the events that the chamber does host, if a board member at that time wanted to handle those case by case to bring it for full board consideration, that would be one thing. But I'm also advocating that we do not add it to the automatic list.
Very good. And I would actually ask that, to clarify what I think Director Sinella said, to bring back those special events, certainly not the sundowners, certainly not the morning breakfast or whatever they have. I think that just would be obscene for us to get a per diem for going to that. But I think these special events, the state of the city, the election night people, I think if they're brought back to the board and we all agree, and I personally would allow then any board member that wanted to go to that to get the per diem as opposed to having some one individual. So anything further, Director Martin?
Yeah, just I want to mention those two things that were brought up. The electeds, the night of the electeds is something we're invited to as elected officials. And that's the only thing the chamber does. The state of the city is really a city function. They allow the chamber to do it so the chamber can make money on it, because their dues all goes to pay their employees. That's all it goes towards. It does not go, in my opinion, to help our business community at all, other than have sundowners, coffees which are attended by 5 or 6 people, education committees which are attended by 3 or 4 people. It just is not doing what it's supposed to do, and what I've seen other viable chambers do. Carlsbad has a fantastic chamber of commerce. And I ask each of you just to think about who's on the board of this chamber of commerce, and if you know any of them. One, I think, is all we know. So I'm just bringing that up, but, whatever. I think the State of the City is still a city event. It's done as a fundraiser, and the electeds is also done as a fundraiser because they're trying to get people to pay so we can afford their CEO and staff.
Yes. Director Evans.
I was just going to say I'd like to make a motion that we join the chamber at this $712.50.
Very good.
And that it will not become an automatic per diem, but need to be brought forward with each event.
And is there a second to that? There's a second. Before we vote, I see there's a public speaker. Mike, fill out a public speaker slip.
I did.
This is 2.1. It says 3.6 on my ticket here.
I thought that was 3.6. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just change the number here.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mike.
I have a couple of concerns. One is that some of these meetings are when you have a full table representation, and there's always the question of constituting a Brown Act serial meeting with attendance by a quorum of the board. The other issue I have is that it's a pro-business organization, which is right now very pro-development. And it's a question that'll come up on whether or not, since San Marcos in particular is reaching its ultimate build-out levels, why water people are at meetings promoting more development. It also should be noted that some of the big commercial new businesses that are coming through in our area are craft beers. We have some very fine craft beer manufacturers, but we're having more and more come in, and every gallon of beer consumes 7 gallons of water. This is probably not the type of business we need to promote in a county that is going to go through some severe shortages. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second.
Can we just clarify with legal counsel about put his concerns to rest about the Brown Act potential violations that go with us attending different events?
Well, if you'd like to go ahead, but I think we all know that there is none.
No, but I want to get it on the public record because this is the
you,
third time he's spoken, and there's a lot of misinformation being said. So let's at least clear this one up.
The Brown Act provides an exemption for more than a majority or quorum of the board to attend social events or such as this, provided there's no discussion of district business, which is what is occurring at these events. not the discussion of business is not occurring, but you're appearing and not discussing the district business.
Very
It's not
good.
a Brown Act
Thank you,
violation.
Mike. Yes, Director Martin?
Just for clarification, I'm going to be voting no, but for no reason of what the speaker just spoke about. None whatsoever. I'm voting no based upon, I just don't think we're getting any value for the dollar for our ratepayers.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Very good. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 3.1, the General Manager's Report.
Yeah, just three quick kind of heads up of upcoming items. So the first one is on October 14th, the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce will be holding its Fall Festival. Vallecitos will be manning a booth out there, giving out educational information and sharing information with the public. So anybody who attends, we'd like to invite them to stop by the district's booth there. Second item is at our next board meeting, which is on October 17th, the board will be asked to consider releasing the draft preliminary environmental impact report for the master plan, for the water and sewer master plan. So that, if approved, that would start the 45-day circulation period, and that would conclude sometime in probably early December, and it would take staff probably about a month to get responses to comments. So sometime in probably, I'd say, maybe mid-January to early February, we'd be back in front of the board for certification of the document.
I'm sorry, Glenn, I missed the date. What's the date we're going to be discussing the master plan?
So on the 17th, we'll be asking the board to approve the release, to circulate the preliminary environmental impact report. So that's 2 weeks from tonight.
And again, my apologies. When are we going to see the master plan? We've talked about it. I don't believe I have read the master plan.
I'm going to look to James for the timing. That'll be kind of a companion document when it goes out for the PEIR. That's when the document becomes available.
Now, we're getting the chapters currently, Director Martin, and then we hope to have them probably sometime next week with all our comments addressed. So the programmatic EIR is finally being placed together, and then we'll be ready to bring it to the board for circulation. At that point, it gets circulated for 45 days, in which we get public comments. And of course, it will still be until about February before we have any type of adoption of the master plan.
So I think the question is you're differentiating between the environmental impact report and the document itself, the master plan document itself.
Yeah, I'm asking, when is the board going to see the master plan, or is it still being put together by staff?
It's being put together by consultants, and we're waiting for the final documents, and the board will see it at the October 17th meeting.
So that's the first time we'll see it is there, and we're going to have to approve or comment on it at that time?
No, all we're doing, all staff is requesting is board authorization to basically send it out into the community for comments at that point.
I could be wrong. I thought in the past the board had a chance to look over the master plan and talk about it with staff. It wasn't just a staff document going out.
Yeah, and we've done a similar thing. So we've had 2 or 3 board workshops where we went over the duty factors and the CIP costs. We've had 2 confirming meetings with the BIA, came back with their comments, addressed their comments, came back to the board in those workshops and discussed those. All of this is now is we finally have the environmental document and the written document being placed together that basically outlines those tables and those CIPs that we've been already putting together for the board. So the board had actually seen the master plan as far as the results of the master plan, but this is the first time staff is going to see a full document together, and same with the board and public as far as a document and what the environmental impact is. It's a programmatic EIR that we're basically sending out there. From there's no adoption. So it's a 45-day. If there's a need for another workshop, we could have another workshop with the board prior to bringing it back to the board for actual adoption and certification.
Thank you.
When we prepare the staff report for the item in 2 weeks, we can include a little history of when it's been in front of the board, both at the engineering committee and at the full board.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see, the last item I had, just to remind the board that the district will be holding its annual Water Academy event, and that's going to be on Thursday, October 25th. So it's a really good event. It's a good opportunity for customers of the district to come in, learn what we do, meet some of the people, and we take people on a facility tour, bus tour, and we feed them, so that's always a positive thing. Attendance is limited, but we still do have a few available seats, so if any members of the public are interested, they can get on our website, and right on the front page and the home page in the kind of bottom right corner, there's a little place to click, and it gives you more information. You can sign up and reserve a spot there.
Is it a half-a-day event or a full-day event?
It's a full-day
event.
Full-day event.
Go through the whole district.
Yeah, and we've talked about in the spring having like a half-day kind of reduced event.
Very good.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just want to add, unfortunately, I usually really enjoy going to these events, but I can't make it this time. However, I have received recently a tremendous amount of positive feedback about those water academies, and I can tell you that the folks who do go on it, they really learn a lot. And I know it's a big undertaking for our entire team, but I think there's a lot of value in it for our customers, and they really enjoy it. So.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That's all I have.
Very good. Legal counsel.
I have two items. You may have seen last week the governor signed Senate Bill 998. It's going to require us to adopt new written policies and detailed notices regarding discontinuation of water service. We'll have until 2020 to get those in place. The general manager has already reached out and raised some questions, and they're working on that. The second item is last week, I guess it just got published today, the Court of Appeal issued a decision in the Golden Door Properties case affirming the trial court's decision that the essentially climate document prepared by the County of San Diego was not CEQA compliant, and that the county cannot rely on that document in connection with development proposals.
Regarding the first item, I suspect there's going to be some communication with your staff, engineering committee, and the board as to how to turn off water. And I bring this up because, as I mentioned, I think at our last board meeting, 4 weeks ago, I was in Detroit, and the city's bankrupt. It's being run by a conservator. I think that's the correct term. And one of the big problems that they had was nobody's paying their water bill, and they weren't turning it off. And I mean, millions and millions of dollars of water bills not being paid, and so that's going to be a slippery slope we're going to have to deal with. Yeah. All right. Very good. Anything further, Jim?
Nothing further.
All right. Very good. San Diego County Water Authority.
A few things. First, I won't be able to attend the North County Water Symposium on the 10th. I would have liked to, but I will be at the audit committee with the Water Authority, so I will miss that. And I will miss our academy, unfortunately, because I'll also be at the Water Authority. That's the board day. And I wanted to remind everyone about the Aqua Region 10 event on October 18th. We've set out a thing, and I don't know, I haven't looked to see who's going, but I hope we can attend. I will be attending. And then I had an interesting, as a question for the board really, I wondered if you would all be interested in presentation by the Water Authority on the energy program update. Because we have 4 main projects that are producing revenue, a significant amount of revenue that I thought you might be interested with, Lake Hodges and Penasquitos and this sort of thing. We also have some that we're looking at, and 2 of them you're familiar with, the floating solar panels on Alevenhain and also the wind turbines on Alevenhain. Now, of our projects, those 2 are not yet in movement, but there's some interesting stuff to learn from them. And then the San Vicente energy storage, the hydroelectric, and then the Twin Oaks battery system. And that Twin Oaks battery system, I believe it's just coming on board. It's not quite yet at their treatment plant. But they showed pictures of the batteries, and they were showing these gigantic things, and they get 1 megawatt of electricity for 2 hours. So if you were trying to, they said we'd have acres of these batteries. So it's really interesting. And then there's a lot of things we're trying to connect with in coordination with San Diego Water Authority on ways of using electricity in different ways. And one of them, as I reported, it's probably been a year now, that we have set up that the Water Authority can draw kilowatts from 3,500 megawatts, got it right, I think, from Hoover Dam each year, which isn't a lot, except that all of the pump stations within the San Diego County Water Authority's use is only 2,500. So it's significant, even though it's tiny. So I wanted to point out that, and if you'd like to do that, I'd love to talk with you, schedule a time, because it's a very fascinating program, and it's such a cutting-edge thing right now that we're all going to need to look at. So great, I will just talk with you that. And then this was jogged, I'd forgotten I had this in here, but it was jogged by public comment. It was about the Colorado River and Lake Mead. And I found two interesting things recently. One, they are saying there is no shortage next year. That looking at the water and what's expected, and all the 7 basins are together constantly trying to work those things out with Mexico and that. They are anticipating a 57% chance of an actual shortage in 2020. And then it goes up to 68 in 21, 70 in 22, and down to 65 in 23. So, yes, we're in a tough situation. But something I think a lot of us aren't really aware of, you don't think about on a daily basis, is that Metropolitan Water has 500,000 acre-feet of water in storage at Lake Mead. Sounds like a lot of water, but here's what's the interesting manipulative political powers that be in our world. Each 100 acre feet of water, 100,000 acres, is equal to 1 foot in elevation. So when we are sitting at 1079, Metropolitan has the power to withdraw their water and put it in a critical position. They also have the power to not withdraw their money. So it's really interesting what's going on that level when we think it's all just about Mexico, or we think it's about the rain, or we think about the state. There is an organization, and I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, I'm just saying they really hold the level at Lake Mead today is in their hands. Now, they don't need that water. It's sitting there in case they did, but isn't it interesting who's in charge? So there's always so much more to any of this than it starts out with. But that's it, I think, and I had you probably received the report via email, at least I did, on the summation of the rest of the meeting. And we have a new president. Mark Muir has been replaced by Jim Medaffer, and you may have seen that in the paper as well.
Very good. And seeing the Wastewater Authority, the Capital Committee will have its meeting on Wednesday the 17th. No report.
Policy and Finance Committee meets next Tuesday, October 9th.
Very good. Standing committees. Finance?
We didn't have a finance committee meeting this month. We will
And
next month.
we haven't had an engineering meeting this month, so we're ahead of the game. Directors' reports and meetings and conferences and seminars and anything else you were involved in.
Nothing for me, Mr. President.
Well, CSDA, I'm going to report on our next meeting because my book, which has all the things I attended, is not here with me because I left it at home. So the dog ate my homework, but at the next meeting,
He'll cough it up next week.
the next meeting, I will tell you all the classes I went to, but I will tell you this, both speakers they had were excellent. I enjoyed this meeting of all of theirs as one of the best, I thought. The speakers were the best, and the courses, the breakout sessions were also very good. I think Aqua can learn from them, but there again, Aqua is probably more limited in what they can do over and over again versus CSDA, which has new things pop up. But very informative, and of course, it felt the Renaissance, and what can you say? That's a very nice place to have it.
Oh, yeah.
And the rate they got was cheaper than Monterey. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes more sense to me, but what do I know?
And I also attended it, and I missed the marijuana breakout because I was down in San Diego. So I'll be interested to hear, because I think, Hal, you were at that one.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to hear that. But the one thing that both Director Martin and I were at were public properties and insurance.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I believe we're going to have to do, even with the lease that we're going to potentially renew, is we're going to, if we haven't already, and maybe we have, that I don't remember, declare that as a recreational facility. Because with that, that puts us into this, we don't have to worry about people falling in the lake or breaking a leg or something. Of course, Director Martin's worried about the dam collapsing, and then, of course, the whole new development down there is.
I thought the two questions that were interesting that were asked, the president asked the first question of, what's our liability if someone falls off? And they said, as long as it's posted when you walk in there somewhere, this is a natural trail, you're off the hook. People fall off, they knew what they were getting into. If you know you have rattlesnakes, put a sign up saying rattlesnakes, so people know there could be rattlesnakes. Like if you know you have bears, put bears. Once you let the people know, then you're kind of off the hook. My question was, okay, what about the facility, the dam itself, which we know has a leak in it now? All earthen dams, I'm told, have leaks. So this already has a leak in it now. What I want to know is our liability. If we lease this out, I would like to see the city take over all liabilities, all costs, because I know we have to have the dam inspected. That costs money. We're still going to have staff go out there for some reason and do something, and we know how much, we know how James charges us for staff. I can't imagine what Ed charges for staff, because that includes a vehicle. That's a vehicle has to go out as well. He's got a big vehicle,
Yeah. And his fishing pole on the back.
So all of our costs are in that lease that the city agrees to, and not that we're still, or our ratepayers are still encumbered with some problem, because in my point of view, it's an asset that we're never going to be able to use for anything, so therefore, I'd rather see us sell it and pay down the purse, but that's not going to happen. So, see if that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I got a comment on that.
Yes.
I think we're going to stay as the owner of record on that dam.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Regardless. I don't know how you shift that liability.
Owner of record is okay, as long as the liability is not ours.
I don't know.
They have to accept the liability.
Well, what if we just put up a sign that says this dam has a leak?
Yeah,
That's not the same as a walking trail.
like a bear.
Darn.
Yeah. You're likely to get eaten by a bear as opposed to.
More likely to be hit by the leak than the bear
Again,
is what I'm
ongoing
hearing.
expenses that we have for the dam should not be borne by our ratepayers, but should be borne by the city. They're getting the use of it. That's all I'm saying, whatever those costs may be. If we stay the owner, we stay the owner, but their insurance needs to cover us, and we need to get off the JPI's insurance. And I know, I talked to the general manager, they're already working it, trying to break that down to see what that is. So that's, my only concern is that we're free and clear if anything happens out there.
And my plan was to bring that item back to the board at our next meeting to initiate the discussion,
Right.
see if the board is interested in extending the agreement, and if they are, I'll go work with the city, work out the details, and then we'll bring it back hopefully before the agreement expires at the end of the year. That's the plan.
Perfect, thank you very
And
much.
just, if I can clarify one
Yes.
thing, the dam doesn't have a leak. It's not like there's a fault in the dam. It's an earthen-filled dam, and they naturally allow water to move through. It's at low levels. It's completely normal. I don't want people watching the meeting thinking there's a leak in the dam and there's something wrong.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you very much, because Hal was ready to run over
I'm
and put his
sorry.
finger in the dam right now.
Earthen dams by their nature are porous, I understand that, and that's what I'm saying. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, by its nature it's porous.
Yeah.
No, and Jim, as the president, would have to go stick his thumb in it.
Yeah, I'll be ready to go tonight, but it's just natural leakage.
Wow.
Seepage. Very good.
I also went to the conference, and I'm sorry, missed the cannabis one. I actually missed part of the conference because I had an audit meeting, and I had another meeting at the Water Authority I had to go to, but I think it was a very well-done one, as Director Martin says, and of course, the biggest thing is about leadership skills and running your boards and doing policy and all these interesting issues. And even though often they're repeating kind of the same subject, it's always good to have it refreshed and hear it in another way. And they had excellent speakers. I wish that we could just play them back for some of you. I think just for general population, it's a very interesting. I appreciate that opportunity to go very much. It's one of my favorite. And then this time I spent a lot of time with exhibitors in the exhibit hall, which I don't normally do, but I kind of got on a little thing. And it's amazing how much you can learn from the exhibitors and not just the class and the classes, the conferences, and you do your networking. But it was very interesting, and I have a few things that I'll mention to. I've already mentioned one to Wes and to you that you're probably already aware of them, but I wasn't. It was very interesting. So thank you again. And I think that's all I did.
Very
last
good.
Meeting.
Item 4.1, director's comments and future agendas. Anyone down there?
I have nothing.
Well, I
I
just
think
have
we already
one
got a
comment.
list.
I want everyone to know how proud I am of our platinum staff, and they deserve all the kudos that they get.
Amen. Knock on wood. I have a comment that I would like, probably it's too early at the next board meeting, but the meeting in November, I would like to put on the agenda the discussion of our video installation and how it's going.
Hopefully it's done by then.
What?
Hopefully it's done by then.
Well, that's okay. They're still working on it. It's an adjustable thing, and I understand that. But, yeah, I might as well.
If we could do that. As I understand it, the last components are come across the ocean from China, and the contractor has them on hand. So.
I think they're holding back because of Trump. They're angry, so they're going to say, oh.
I think they're just on that slow boat that we hear about from China.
From China?
We've always heard that slow boat. That's the one they got.
Okay. Anything further? Agenda items? Hearing none? We're adjourned.